All right, guys, we'll get started. Most of the people seem to be here, and you guys are the important ones since you are here, so we'll get going. Welcome to Live Grit. For anybody who doesn't know, my name is Jacob. I'm one of the employees here at the store, and we have a handful of us floating around. Jeff is checking everybody in on the iPad. If you haven't seen him after the clinic, make sure you go get checked in. We'll send you some cool stuff in an email. Gillian, our owner, is in the back there. Jim, one of our head coaches, is back there. Caleb's in the mechanics section. Saban's on the other side with the bike. We got the Daves. Both Daves are here now. I got the signal that second Dave showed up. Some of Chicago Triathlon's head coaches. Frosty's here as well, one of the coaches over there. We got a whole lot of knowledge in the room for you guys. And then all the first-timers. So welcome in. This is the fourth of 6 clinic series that we're putting on. This one's going to be all about transition. So we'll be able to answer any questions you guys have about swim, bike, run, or other. But today we're going to focus predominantly on the transition. A couple of quick rules throughout the clinic. There are no rules is number one. Number two, try and drink as much beer as you can because you tend to spend more money when you do. So it's a lot more fun that way. But in all seriousness, if you need to get up and grab yourself a beer, help yourself. The kegs over there, these nice ladies are on beer duty, so they'll make sure it doesn't overflow. We have water as well. And if at any point you have any questions, just shoot a hand up. We just ask you to introduce yourself by name. We want to try and get to know as many people's names as we can, so introduce yourself by name and we'll get going from there. Any huge questions just out of the gate? Is everyone in the right place? Everyone part of the First Timers program? Very cool. How many people are doing sprint distance on August and international distance? And I know we have a couple of super sprints in the room, right? A handful, 2 or 3? Very cool. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, we are well versed in everything triathlon as well as specific to the Chicago event. So if you have race day specific questions, I may push you off until closer to race day because we just don't have the answer yet. But if we have the answer, we'll be sure to let you know. All right? Let's get moving. We start every clinic off with just the basics of triathlon. No question is too simple for us, so we want to make sure you understand the sport in its very beginning. It is always swim, bike, run in that order. There's no choose your own adventure throughout this process. We're going to start with the swim, we'll jump into the bike, and we'll go to the run. Those dashes in between are why we're here today. The transition, T1 and T2, we've always referred to it as the fourth sport. It requires practice, it requires preparation, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We talk about different distances, the timing, the starts, and there's that lovely word again, the transition. So the sprint distance is roughly an 800-meter swim. I get this wrong every time. A 20K bike and a 5K run. An international is double that, so a 1,600-meter swim, 40K bike, and a 10K run. If you want the English translations to that, do it on your own. I can only do metric. Timing-wise, race is going to start when the gun goes off for your wave. So you guys are going to be in waves of about 150 athletes. You're going to be surrounded by other first-timers. And when the gun goes off, your time starts, and your time doesn't stop until you cross the finish line. Transitions count as time. So that's all part of the race course. And that's what transitions are all about. Chicago Triathlon is going to have about 7,200 athletes on Sunday morning. It's a big transition area, and we're going to get into the dirty details of that today. We're going to run through the course real quick, and then we'll refresh your memory on some of the rules. There are a few rule changes this year, which good news is you guys are all first-timers, so they're all new to you. But we want to cover those specifically to make sure you guys understand them. This is the Chicago Triathlon course. I'm not going to do the play-by-play in the video. I'll let you watch it, but Hootie, the brand manager of Lifetime Triathlon, is not here, and he's the play-by-play guy. So we'll run through it. This is our swim course. We're going to start just south of Buckingham Fountain. International distance is going to go south and come back north. Sprint distance is just going to go straight north. Transition is this big yellow area right here. It's like that right-hand turn curvy hill by Randolph Street and Lakeshore Drive, or Randolph Street in the lakefront path. You can go see it now. They fence it all off and protect it all for you guys on race weekend. Now it just looks like a really nice grassy hill. But that transitions into Triathlon Central that weekend. Bike course is going to go north. Both courses go all the way north to Hollywood Avenue and back. Sprint distance is going to come back in a transition. International distance is going to go through Middle Wacker, come down, go through the busway, down to McCormick Place, and back north into transition as well. And then everybody's going to run south on the lakefront path towards the swim course at Waldron, just south of Soldier Field. Sprint distance is going to turn around and go back to transition, or rather back to Balboa, which is where the marathon finishes. International is going to come all the way down to 31st. I want to say 31st and then back up. So any questions on the course? I'll push you guys into this video real quick just because I spent the time to put it in the PowerPoint. So this is going to run you through, again, international course goes south and comes up. Sprint's just going to go straight north. Get into transition. You have a 200-meter run. Come out of transition up towards the bike all the way up to Hollywood Avenue. You're going to be on the inner two most lanes of Lakeshore Drive, both northbound and southbound. Sprint distance is going to turn back into transition here. And international distance is going to hang a right through Middle Wacker, back towards Middle Wacker south on the McCormick Place Busway. All three roads you can never ride on other than in this race. Back into transition. South on the lakefront path all the way down to 31st and back up to Balboa. See, I set expectations low and said I wasn't going to do it, but then I did it. So, any questions on the course for you guys? There's got to be a question on the course.
Where does the bike end on the sprint?
I didn't catch any name.
Julie,
sorry. Go ahead.
Where does the bike end for the sprint?
Just up to Hollywood and back down. So
Back down.
right into transition. Yep. And there's really well-marked signs. You can never get lost if you're doing one distance versus the other. Yeah.
Hannah, and then so both transitions take place in the same spot.
Same spot. Yeah, it's not a point-to-point race. So in the triathlon world, that does exist. Point-to-point race where you swim from one end of a lake to another, get in, and then bike further down the road and have a second transition area. Most triathlons are single transitions, one big spot. And you'll go back to the exact same spot in both transitions to switch out from one to another sport. Any other questions on the course, guys? Very cool. One last look at the map in case anybody did have questions, but we'll move right along. Did I see a question? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
For the swim part,
Yeah.
is there like how do they mark where you're going? Is it just buoys?
Yeah, it's big it's like 10 people-sized inflatable buoys. They're pretty big. And when you get in the water, they'll start you. There's about a half-hour break between when all of the international distances are done and when the sprint distances start. So at that point, sprint distances will have no option but to go the correct way. There will never come a point on the race course where you have to decide, like, ooh, do I turn here or not? There will be very well-marked signs of sprint distance this way, Olympic distance that way. Really well-marked, yeah.
Carolyn, how many water spots are there along the course?
So on the bike course, you're entirely self-sufficient. There is no aid station on the bike course. On the run course, there will be one at mile 1 and then 1 mile away from the finish line as well. Plan on being self-sufficient throughout the entire race. You guys are going to have the added advantage of being in our program, which is going to get you assistance in transition. There will be coaches and athletes who are not racing in your designated transition area. You are also separated from the rest of the racers in transition, so you'll have a little bit more, I don't want to call it privacy, but it's a little less overwhelming. But outside of that, when you're on the race course, we can't help you. That's one of USAT's rules. No outside assistance allowed. So plan on being as self-sufficient as possible, and that includes mechanical issues on the bike, hydration and nutrition on the bike and the run. The only time we'll help you is in the swim. If you need help, we'll get you out of the water, no problem. Yeah.
So on the bike, if I get a flat tire, I can everything on my bike.
We highly recommend it. There is this not advertised mechanical support out there. Chicago Triathlon puts mechanical support on the course, but there's roughly 7,200 athletes at any given point out there. So plan on being self-sufficient, because if you are waiting on the sag wagon or the flat tire experts, it could be hours at some points. So we don't want to rely on them. They're great and they're doing the best they can, but it's not rocket science. Everybody in this store is trained on how to change a flat tire and then teach people how to change a flat tire. None of us are rocket scientists or doctors or anything like that. It can be done pretty quickly. So we plan on teaching everybody how to do it. Any other questions on course stuff, guys? Awesome. Man, I'm getting ahead of myself in the slideshow here. So this is a transition zone. This is actually at Esprit de Ski, Naperville, the all-women's event that happened June 12th this year. We had a couple of athletes in here race that. We had a handful of them. So this is what a transition zone looks like. That's about a third to a fourth the size of Chicago Triathlon. This race is 2,200 athletes large. Chicago Triathlon, again, is going to be about 7,200 athletes. So you can see how chaotic it looks in its very beginning. It's super simple. What's going to happen in transition is each rack, you see these signs right here, are going to have bib and wave numbers on it. So when the race gets closer, you're going to get a wave number. I think they go up to like 60 waves or something crazy like that. You will have a wave number that's designated by a special cap color. a swim cap color, and your transition rack will have your color, your wave, it'll say our name, First Timers Program, and then you will be in a range of 10 numbers on the rack, just like that one outside that Jim used to demonstrate, and that's your transition area. What we're going to recommend is on Saturday, Chicago Triathlon will open transition for bikes only. That is the only time you're going to be able to see transition in the daylight. So we're going to set up our own private timeline separate from Chicago Triathlon just for you guys in the First Timers Program. That on Saturday, we're going to designate a time that we all go over. We rack our bikes. We find our transition racks. Dave, I think you did it last year, right? You took a handful of athletes over there on Saturday. And you can walk transition. That's probably the biggest piece of advice we're going to give you guys today besides practicing transition is on race day, walk it. Swim in, bike out, bike in, and run out are all different parts of transition. And Sunday morning is going to be pretty chaotic. 7,000 athletes are going to be in and out of there getting the last minute stuff in. It's going to be pitch black dark. They're going to be a little nervous for the race. So Saturday afternoon is a great time to get a lay of the land, if you will. This is a great time to ask questions. Yeah, Hannah.
Are people allowed to like meet us in there if we've
Nope. Only athletes are allowed in transition. You're going to get a race number. When you pick up your packet, you're going to get a number. That's what we're going to put on permanent marker or tri-tattoos on your arm. That's going to be on a bracelet you have. That's going to be on your bike. That's going to be tied to your timing chip. And all of that is the only way. You're going to put a sticker on your helmet. You're going to put a bib on the run. All of that is what allows you in and out of transition. Nobody can go into transition to pick up your stuff. It has to be you. And every time you go in and out of transition, they check all of your stuff to make sure your numbers are in sync with one another so you're not taking someone else's bike. We always get this question. Saturday night, the bikes are inside 8-foot chain link fencing with armed security guards and floodlights and everything. And odds are your bike's not going to get stolen. Maybe someone else's, but bikes don't get stolen out of there. So leaving them on Saturday will be plenty fine. Any big questions? I know we had a handful of people watch Jim go through a transition. I know a lot of you haven't seen one. Probably have 1,000 questions on how you set it up. Now's a great time to ask those. We only have a couple more slides after this, so they'll come out an hour later. Yeah?
When you come out of the swim,
Yeah.
you have to drop your cap until they count the
No. Everything's done through your home arrest ankle bracelet that they make you wear.
Could you repeat the question, Jake?
He said he heard that somebody said you had to drop your cap when you got out of the swim, so they count how many people are in and out. I've never heard that, but everything's going to be done through your ankle bracelet. So at any given point on the race course, there's these wires underneath mats, and that's counting athletes. They make sure you guys all get out of the water. They count you very, very closely out of the water. Bryant will be here at some point, and he is head of safety and event planning and all that, so he could better answer that question, but they don't lose athletes in the water. So, yeah.
Kip?
Yeah.
So when the bike is in the transition area, do you have to actually have it locked up?
No, that would not go well on race morning. It'd be hard to do. You won't have your bike locked up. You'll have them set every other. They hang by the nose of their saddle. On a rack like that, and afterwards we'll send Jim back outside with his bike and some of his stuff, and he'll set that transition area back up so you can see it. But you put your bike underneath and then pull it forward onto the seat, on the nose of the seat, and it hangs down. The rear wheel is going to be off the ground. Unless you're as tall as me, then both your wheels touch the ground. But your rear wheel will hang off the ground, and that's where all of your stuff's going to go, and you won't need to lock it to anything. Yeah.
So on Saturday, we only did the bike though.
Yeah.
The rest of our gear we still have to come in.
Sunday morning, yeah. I don't have the timelines because they're not published yet, but again, Chicago Triathlon, and let's take a step back. You guys are going to get spoiled at Chicago Triathlon. This is one of the best run races probably in the world, certainly in the country, especially for the amount of money that it costs. It is really well done, so they've thought of everything in it. So on Saturday, you're allowed to leave just your bike. It's one of the only races and the only race of this size that allows for that. On Sunday morning, you're going to be allowed back into the race or back into the transition area, but you're only going to be allowed in for 2 hours before the international distance starts, and then sprint distance athletes are going to be allowed in a couple hours later. Once international distance start, then sprint distance athletes will also be allowed into transition. So it's a really well-organized transition area, and you won't be waiting. Last year we had athletes, and this probably isn't going to be the case this year, we had athletes at the very last wave of the race. We were the last people in the water, and the longest they had to wait was about an hour in between transition close and race start. so you're not left alone. And we have an area set up for you guys to hang out and wait with us once you drop your stuff off in transition. Any other big questions?
Right here.
Yeah, go ahead. Steven.
For the when we bring our bikes down there, can we bring a helmet and shoes too? Or is it
Nope,
strictly
just your bicycle.
Okay.
Yep. I wouldn't even leave like water bottles on there. The security guards, Saturday night, they also go back through this as a behind the scenes piece of information, so don't like post it on Facebook. Saturday night, they go through and security check the whole premise as well, and bring the dogs through and everything like that. So anything they don't want in transition gets yanked out. And it'd be terrible to show up Sunday morning and have like your helmet missing or something. So yeah. I saw another hand pop up in the back. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How much time should I expect to be in T1 and how much time in T2?
If you're like me, man, 20 minutes. Just take a seat, have yourself a sandwich. That's a great question. People get really concerned over transition times, and it does count towards your overall race time. I've taken upwards of 15 minutes in transition before, and I've gone out as quick as 3.5. So it's all about what you bring, how quickly or how seriously you're taking the race. This is going to be one of the weirdest things I ever say, but I'm a big fan of socks. So I change my socks in both T1 and T2, and that takes me an extra step. I have tricks to get my feet clean, wash my feet off, and put new socks on, and that just takes me an extra minute. So things like that. If you want to, actually last fall we hosted a clinic with the guy who holds the record for the fastest transition time in the Chicago Triathlon. Something like 82 seconds or something crazy. I'd rather change my socks. I'd rather just sit down for a minute. I had the privilege of racing Ironman Wisconsin last year, and I legitimately sit down because it's a long day and I'm not trying to win in transition. So as long as you want it to take. I'd say a quick time is going to be 3 to 5 minutes. A slow time is going to be 5 to 10-ish, give or take. They also, yeah?
Per transition?
Yeah, per transition. 1 to 2 or T1 is typically a little bit longer. 2 to 3 is typically a little bit faster because all you need to do is drop your bike and change your shoes. And if you ride your bike in your running shoes, you've eliminated that part. But from swim to run, a lot of athletes leave their triathlon top in transition, so they have to come in and put their top on, get their shoes on, get their helmet on, dress their bicycle if they have to put nutrition or water in it, and then get going. So it just takes a little bit longer in the first transition.
So what time do you recommend getting there on Sunday morning?
I have no idea yet. They haven't released the timelines. They'll give us that information probably 2 weeks to a week and a half before the race day. You guys are going to get 2 pieces of information in late August. One is going to be the athlete guide from Chicago Triathlon, and the second is going to be the First Timers Program athlete guide from us. They're going to lay out when everything is open and closed, and it's this huge packet of information. We're going to give you guys a timeline as to when we recommend going and when we will be there, and that'll give you a much narrower idea. Last year, early transition for the Olympic distance closed at 6 a.m., and the second transition opened from 7 to 8, I believe, was the second window. But those timelines are entirely subject to change. Everybody is in the water typically by 9:30 a.m. is when the race is officially completely started. So, yeah, go ahead.
I'm Sadie. You mentioned dressing your bike in that first transition.
Yeah.
Is there any reason you couldn't already have your water and stuff?
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Sunday morning?
absolutely. So Sunday morning, let's take 6 steps back because I realized I got ahead of myself there. When we go in on Saturday, we're just going to put our bike in and we're going to walk transition. We're going to see where ins and outs are in transition, where your rack is. Jim made a great comment of using a brightly colored towel on Sunday morning to mark your transition area, but you're going to get pretty comfortable with how to get to your spot in relation to the 7,200 other spots available. Sunday morning, you're going to come in, and on sale today is your transition bag. You're going to come in with your transition bag, and that's going to have all of your stuff, everything you need to race in, and you're going to set your area. I personally don't recommend leaving this bag in there. You're more than welcome to. They since allow these in transition. You can leave them there. In fact, the tier bag is designed to be used in transition, so you can see it folds flat and stands up, so you can use it within your transition area. It's just a little bulky, in my opinion. But you're going to set your transition area Sunday morning. Where your helmet goes, where your sunglasses go, we always give the piece of advice to put as much in your helmet as you can because they physically will not let you onto your bicycle without your helmet on and buckled. So I put my sunglasses in there, I put my watch in there, I put my extra nutrition all in my helmet looped in underneath my handlebars because they will stop you from starting the bike section of the race without your helmet on. They will let you go out on the run course with your helmet on, though. Just for anybody who's concerned, they don't stop you. They point and laugh, but they don't stop you. So things like that. My mother would be proud. I'm an overpacker for everything that I do. So I bring more stuff than I should, and that's probably the worst piece of advice I could give you in a transition clinic. So when I come into transition, I'm still making decisions like an idiot, and that's probably why 12 minutes is one of my transition times. I'm deciding like, oh, do I want this flavor goo or that flavor goo? And then I make my decisions and get going. But that's what I meant by dress your bike. Make sure your water bottles are full. Make sure you have your nutrition. You cannot, this is an interesting fact as well, a new rule, you cannot leave transition and come back in. So if you forgot something and you exit transition, they will not let you back in until you complete the bike course. So if you leave transition and you forgot your water bottles, good luck. See you in 20 miles or so. They won't let you back in. It's a timing thing. You can't cross back over the mats that are laid out. And once you cross back over them, they think you're going out on the run. So once you're out, and you got to go. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, go ahead. We got an addition here. Hold on.
Just getting back to that, check the times.
Yeah.
There are 7,200 people who are trying to get into that transition area in about a 2-hour period. So you don't want to get there right before transition is going to close and hope to get in, get your stuff all set up and check everything out and then get out to the swim start. So rather get there early and be all settled and be ready to go out and relax on the grass than get there last minute and now rushing to try and find your spot, get your stuff ready and panic.
And the guys who work for Lifetime and put on this event are honestly some of the nicest people I have the privilege of knowing and working with consistently, but they have a job and they have a race to run. And we had 2 athletes not allowed in transition last year. They waited too long, came and saw me and said they won't let me into transition. Okay, see you next summer, man. You can't show up 2 minutes before and expect to bend the rules. So these timelines are very, very important. And like I said, you'll get all that information the week before the race with timelines and things like that. You had a question, yeah?
Yeah, where do you put your bag then after you get out?
So you're a couple of things. So once you're out of transition, you're free to roam, essentially. You guys are going to have about a half hour to 45 minutes once transition closes before we put you in the water. We're going to set up a space. So transition is almost the entire swim course away from swim start. It's not an out and back swim. It's a point-to-point swim. So you have to walk the half mile or 3/4 of a mile down to swim start. Halfway down, there's the Queen's Landing. It's the lakefront concrete beach across from Buckingham Fountain. That's where we're going to be. We're going to have a feed zone set up where there's apples, bananas, chips, stuff like that, water, last minute stuff. We're all going to meet there. At some point, we're going to walk down to swim start, which is its own type of chaos in itself. And there's a last minute gear check there. You're allowed to hand off one last set of gear to check in. They'll put your number on it and it will meet you at the finish line. Your best bet is honestly to give it to a loved one. Give it to somebody, put it in our tent, do something with it, but that gear check is there. That's where people are going to put their t-shirt and their sandals and the baseball cap they wore down to the swim start, because once you hand off that last gear check, you're in your wetsuit with your timing band and you got your goggles and your cap and you're getting in the water. So there will be one last gear check between here and there. I rely on my mom for a lot of things. It includes gear check before a race. Yeah, go ahead.
So to clarify, Sunday morning when we do the walkthrough, I'll leave a water bottle and goggles and sunglasses.
Yep. Everything besides your physical bicycle is going to come into transition Sunday morning. And we'll be there to help you set it up and show you what to do and things like that. And this is all something we've practiced before. No one's going to transition for the first time on Sunday the 28th, I hope. We're going to give you guys, in the next slide, I think, a couple of opportunities to practice transitioning, because it is its own sport. It's like wrestling a bear. You're not entirely sure what's happening, but you need to get through it, and you'll practice it before then.
So then I'll just leave, when I'm done with the bike, I'll leave my shoes there.
Yeah, and your transition spot, your 4x4 spot is home for everything. So when you come out of the swim, you throw your $300 wetsuit just over the rack, and it hangs out there until you're done. And once the race is starting to finish, once a number of athletes are off of the course, they'll open transition back up, and you go collect all your belongings at that point. Your bike, and you fill your bag back up with your stuff, and then you're good to go. Yeah.
And Allie.
Hi, Allie.
You mentioned putting on like a tri-top at some point
Yeah.
in transition. Do women wear sports bras? And if so,
Quite frequently, yeah.
Do you, like, put them on during the swim and swim with them, or do you do it in transition?
Great question. I don't know personally, but I'm well educated on it. So a couple of things. Triathlon-specific clothing is designed to be swam in. It's designed to be worn under wetsuits or swam in alone. That's one of its main purposes. So any triathlon clothing that is advertised as such can be swam, biked, and ran in all consecutively. Personally, I'm not super flexible, so the idea of putting a top on when I'm wet, I just can't do it, so I wear my whole kit underneath. Gillian, the owner of the store, is an example. She wears her tri-shorts and a sports bra, comes out of the swim, and then puts her top on. I'd say it's 50-50 in terms of who does what, and it's all personal preference. Sports bras, we have a couple of recommendations. That's a great question for Gillian, the female owner of the store, as to which sports bras work. I know Nike Pro Combat is one of her favorites. Other female athletes would be good people to ask for that as well. And then you would put your tri-top on in transition. It is a public transition. It is chain link fence. Nudity is not allowed. Put something on, have something on under your wetsuit, and then you can always add on to it. So, any other questions, guys? Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, it's Ann.
Hi, Ann.
What's the bathroom situation?
Great question. In transition, there's going to be portable toilets right there. No, at the very edges of transition. So at Bike Out is on the furthest north side of transition. It's going to be a really terrible view of this, but there's going to be porta potties right here all the way at the tippy top of the north side, and there's going to be porta potties all the way at the tippy top on the south side of transition, and then there's going to be some on the run course. So transition will have porta potties. Before the race, Queen's Landing will have quite a few porta potties, and then swim start will have some as well. Good question. Any other big questions, guys? We're going to move into the next slide, and you're more than welcome to come up with these questions as we go through the presentation. Like I said, afterwards, we have a wealth of knowledge in this room to answer all of your questions, and we'll be here through the next 8 weeks with you as well. So don't ever hesitate. Our website's got a chat feature to it. Our emails are plastered all over that website as well, so you're always more than welcome to reach out to us. I know a handful of people in this room use that chat feature today because I asked a lot of questions about this transition clinic. So don't ever be afraid to use that as well. So for the First Timers program specifically, this is what transition looks like if you're the fastest person ever, because everyone's still on the bike course and she's going for a run. I don't know why they used that graphic, but they did. So this is what transition is going to look like. Let's see if I can use the keyboard. This is what transition is going to look like once you are getting off the bike and onto the run. And odds are the racks behind her are all filled with bikes. You see another runner going out of transition there as well. And they come in waves, hence the start name of waves. They'll come in waves back from the bike and things like that. So specific to the First Timers program, you guys are going to get a 15% discount on transition mats and bags tonight only. So that's this guy. We have 3 different transition bags for you. I highly recommend that, and I'm not being a salesman when I say this. I'm an aficionado of bags. I just love bags. They're awesome. Your stuff is going to be sandy. It's going to be smelly. It's consistently going to be wet. Having a separate bag to separate it from all of your other stuff is critical. My first year in triathlons, I just used a backpack, and I was at college at the time, and my books would drop sand in the classroom and stuff. So having a separate bag for this. A lot of these guys have cool compartments. Like this has a wetsuit compartment to keep your dripping wet wetsuit away from everything else in your bag. It's designed for triathlon, so it's got pockets and zippers and all sorts of stuff. Again, this is one of 3 that we have on the other side in terms of versions, sizes, and styles. And I really recommend them. It makes a huge, huge difference just for transporting prior to and at race day. They're not so popular in transition. Nobody's laying them out anymore, but just getting in and out of transition, those make a huge, huge difference. And then you don't have sand in your favorite purse or anything like that. Transition mats, this is another great option. Jim pointed out in his clinic earlier using a brightly colored towel. These transition mats are really nice because almost every transition is either in a parking lot or in a field. Like there's never soft asphalt, or I don't even know where an ideal transition would be. Ironman Wisconsin, it's inside. That's ideal. Not everybody else can do it inside. So these mats here, I think they're like $20 and they come in a bunch of different colors and you can write your name on them. $30, but you guys get 15% off. Great to mark your spot, and then this is where you're going to set your stuff on. It works really well. This is made of neoprene, so it absorbs water really quickly. Dry your feet off on, and this will mark your spot really, really well underneath your bicycle as well. So that's what you guys are going to get tonight. This is huge news for you guys, the do-it-yourself triathlon. We've been talking about these all summer long, or all season long. We set up a fake transition zone down at Ohio Street Beach on July 9th, which is this coming Saturday in 3 days, and August 6th, a month from now. We are the only ones I know that are doing this right now. We're opening it up to 50 athletes to both events. We're requiring that you buy a $50 gift card to participate, and that's because we want people to show up for it, because we spend a lot of time. We go get the same transition racks that Chicago Triathlon's using. We're going to mark the courses for you, let you know how far everything is, and go forward from there. This is the first time I'm telling anybody that these are open for registration, the first one, July 9th. So if you want to sign up for it today, you buy a $50 gift card from one of us here in the store, and you'll be registered for the event. You guys are going to have first dibs until 10 a.m. tomorrow. You can also buy it online. There's a Facebook event that does not yet have a link to purchase it, but a Facebook event for just information. But you guys are the first group to hear that information. Thank you for coming to the clinic. You get special information. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., I'm going to send out a newsletter to like 5,000 athletes for it. So if you want to do it, sign up tonight for it. And we're going to open up the August 6th one, probably the start of August. We have another clinic at the end of July. It's our 5th clinic. That's when we're going to open up registration for that one as well. So being here, you guys get first dibs. Yeah?
Is this going to happen after the morning swim?
It's going to be in conjunction with the morning swim. So we're going to start at the same time we normally go swimming, but we are not going to have our normal presence swimming. We're just going to do this. It's like 5 feet further down the beach, so you'll still see us. We did it last year, and it was really, really popular for the athletes. Yeah, go ahead.
So you go for like, if you wanted to swim, you go for the morning swim part, and then you could go over and practice your transition also?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to set up 50 transition spots, and we're going to fence it in with like that police caution tape, so no one can break past that. We're going to set it all up for you. So we're going to start the race or start the transition. You can go swim as far as you want, come back in. Your bike and all your stuff will be set up in transition. We're just going to set up that faux little transition area. Ride your bike as far as you want. We're going to tell you how far each distance is in case you want to do the full thing. Then you come back in and we'll let you go for a run. Basically, we're providing gear watch and bringing transition racks. But that's not as catchy of a name as DIY Try. And we have athletes every Saturday morning do it themselves, kind of on their own. People go for all 3 sports sometimes on Saturday mornings. But this time we're going to set up a little bit of a more official area for you and let you practice it. So we did this on a whim last year. Gillian actually decided that everybody on staff had to come up with a project, and I forgot. So I came up with this idea last minute, and it was wildly successful. So now we do 2 of them. So we'll make sure and get you guys all taken care of for this one. And again, that's this Saturday at 7 a.m. So we're going to send out information to everybody about it tomorrow. That $50 gift card is to us, not like a Visa card. It's here. So you'll get $50 here. And then the one piece I missed in there, our Saturday morning swims every Saturday, except for the 9th and the 6th. We're down at Ohio Street Beach with our big white tent, one of our flags. We rent wetsuits for $10, and we're there from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Saturday, so you can swim, bike, and run to your heart's content from 7 to 11, and we'll watch your stuff for you. So I recommend that. That's a great way. We have athletes who do their own mini triathlon every Saturday morning. You're more than welcome to do that. But at 10:30, I start packing up, and at 11, I got free stuff if you're not back. So, and then lastly, for anybody who registered for the last Tuesday night swim with Chicago Triathlon, we're so sorry. Mother Nature didn't agree with us. We had to cancel it in conjunction with them. Next one is available this coming Tuesday in 6 days. Hopefully, we will be all set to go for that one. Not this coming Tuesday, but 3 Tuesdays from now, their number 3 clinic, or their second actual clinic, they will start the aquathlon, which Hootie's not here, so I can tell you that's not a word. He thinks it's a word, but it's definitely not a word. They're going to set up, same thing, a fake little transition area from swim to run. And that's going to bring us into our next slide where we talk about double workouts or brick workouts. Any questions on events, guys? What you guys get special? Yeah, go ahead.
Vanessa.
Hi, Vanessa.
I was just curious, for the Saturday run, or the Saturday swim, because it's special this Saturday, could you still do the...
Yeah, we'll still have our regular swim on Saturday morning. We'll watch your stuff for you. If you just want to go swimming, we'll be there. But this, for those 50 athletes, will allow them to do a transition as well.
And you're still doing the rental sweatsuits?
Yes, we will be there in full capacity. Our tent will just be 50 feet further down. So, Hannah, you had another question?
Can we wear wetsuits for race day?
Yes, great question. This is specific to the First Timers program. Since you guys are here, I have no problem telling you this. For 7 days, you're going to get for $50, you're going to get a 7-day rental. It's going to be Wednesday to Wednesday around the triathlon. We have 50 suits in our rental inventory, and we're going to open up registration for that August 1st. And it's going to come on a first-come, first-served basis. It's going to be prepay only. No refunds on that because we're going to start reserving the wetsuits ahead of time. Keep in mind, if you've ever rented a wetsuit from us, you get the credit of your wetsuit purchase price back to the purchase of a new wetsuit up to 10%. So if you've rented 5 wetsuits, you get $50 or 10% of your cost of the new suit if you ever do buy one. And at the Chicago Triathlon, we will have some of our old demo suits for sale as well that weekend of. But we're going to open it up August 1st. We're the first in the city to open up our registration. Everybody else does it about the week of. And we will keep you guys updated on that piece of information as well as it becomes available. Any questions on the events or what you guys get? We have 2 more slides, and then we'll set you loose on the coaches and other employees as well. Whoops. So gear, we kind of skipped ahead to this stuff. It's a hard thing to do because you also, for a transition clinic, need all your swim, all your bike, and all your run stuff because you're going to be doing all 3 of those sports as well. But specific to the transition, we talk about our transition mat. An old towel does work. You're more than welcome to use that. This is the Tier Apex bag, which is right there, so you can see how much stuff you can actually jam in there. We recommend a transition bag. It's just easier to separate from the rest of your life. These guys here are wearing a fancy $12 made somebody rich and not me race belt. This is a great idea. This stops you from having to safety pin your number onto your shirt. For $12, this is going to save you a whole nightmare come race weekend. Having one of these is super critical. You toggle your numbers in and then just throw it around your waist when you're running out of transition 2 onto the run. And you can see both these athletes are wearing theirs. It just makes life a lot easier. And then lastly, this is a personal preference, water bottles. Have extra water bottles in transition. That's how I wash my feet off in transition. I have a water bottle on the mat. This is a terrible story. It's the water bottle of the shop I used to work at, so I know I can wash my feet with it. I don't know if that's bad. But that's what I leave in transition to wash the sand and the grass off my feet, step on my mat, dry my feet, put my socks on. So that's one of those things that you wouldn't think of until you were in transition and the guy next to you is using it. You're like, oh man, I wish Jacob had told me to use a water bottle, so now I did. And the coaches in the back, especially Jim, those guys have done a ton of triathlons over the years, and I'm sure they have tons of tips and tricks along the way. Other athletes that you talk to throughout the triathlon world will have a bunch of tips and tricks as well. And finding what works for you through trial and error and things like the do-it-yourself triathlon and those Tuesday night swim runs, because aquathlon's not a word, will be really beneficial for you guys. Any questions on gear? This is a hard slide for Transition Clinic, having only 4 pictures of things. Cool.
Sorry, quick question.
Yeah, sure.
Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
Do you have a gear checklist anywhere?
We do, yeah, Triathlon Basics. It's floating around somewhere. Caleb, is there a checklist on the other side of that computer, those orange checklists? Don't look as lost as you do when I ask you that. Like on the front, this side of the computer, there's a little piece of paper cut out, and it says Triathlon Basics.
Orange at the top.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we have them. They're right there. By Caleb. See Caleb, the bearded fella. He'll get you a Triathlon Basics checklist. All right, guys, I think this is our last slide, so we'll go through it pretty quick. So for training, this is a really hard thing to train for. It's important to realize that from one sport to another, our body's undergoing pretty drastic physiological changes. When we're swimming, we're entirely horizontal and our blood's pooling pretty evenly. We stand up, and Chicago Triathlon's great in the sense that they have bleachers built into the water. So you go from swimming to climbing stairs instantly. And there's a lot of volunteers yanking you up onto the stairs, so you go real quick from laying to walking. And that, it gets everybody a little woozy. Everyone had a few drinks in the water, so they get a little wobbly-legged. You have a 200-meter, in my case, walk, in other cases, run into transition. And then you start cycling. Cycling is predominantly a sitting down activity, but your legs are moving at a rather high revolution, and you're sitting almost straight up and down. Then we go on to the run where we start leaning forward, and our cadence or our revolutions of our feet slow down but become more powerful. So the body goes through 3 pretty drastic sports right in a row. And for every sport, it takes the body a set amount of time just to adjust from one to another. The pros deal with this, Ironman athletes deal with this, super sprint athletes deal with this. You cannot fight it. There's no amount of training you can do to eliminate it. You just have to get used to it. Just like open water swimming, we all have a different personal point where the open water kind of intimidates us and freaks us out a little bit. For me, it's the first 1.5 miles of the run sucks, period. Well, the whole run sucks, period. But the first mile and a half of the run is really tough. Somebody leaned on the lights. So getting used to these transitions, the changes that the body's going to undergo, you just need to get used to. There's no way to make it better or worse. You just have to expect it and know what to expect on race day. So these are great opportunities to do it. This is our do-it-yourself triathlon from last year. You get a better understanding of what it's going to look like this Saturday. We talk about the aquathlon. This is a Tuesday night open water clinic. You can see everybody separated into different groups. This is the half-mile time trial that are going to come back in and go for a 3-mile run as well. Those are 2 great opportunities to do it, but those are throughout the course of the year. There's 3 aquathlons and 2 do-it-yourself triathlons, so at maximum you have 5 opportunities to practice your transition, or you do this dirty little triathlon word called a brick workout. Brick workout is any 2 activities that you've put together. There's a 3rd one that I didn't put in here that's called a transition run, which is my favorite because it's short. But a brick workout, by definition, is 2 full workouts put together, stacked like bricks. People have also thought it was bike run ick, which I prefer, but you're stacking it together like bricks. That's a great opportunity to do it as well. Our Saturday morning swims are great for it. You come out to a Sunday morning bike ride with us. There's always athletes who are dropping their bikes and going for a run around the neighborhood. Just getting the body to undergo those different changes is huge. A transition run, on the other hand, is after a bike ride, getting off the bike and running for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It doesn't need to be a 10-mile run or a 5-mile run. It just needs to be a simple transition run to let the body know that when we're done cycling, we're going to start running, and teaching the body what's going to happen when that process starts. So these are great opportunities to train for the transition. Knowing where your stuff is, bringing the right stuff, not forgetting any of the right stuff is super important, but teaching the body and training the body, the physiological differences that are going to happen is just as important, if not more important. Coaches, anything to add to that? I know Jim was peeking his head around the corner. The Daves, Bryant, anyone have anything to say on that? Cool, cool, cool. They will be around when we're done with the clinic as well. Any questions on training, guys? Yeah, go ahead.
Start the brick training now.
Yeah, what are we, 8 weeks out from the event, something like that? So most programs are 7 weeks? Oh. You think it's 53 days? It's like 53 and a half days. I don't know, but yeah, most Olympic or sprint distance training programs are 12 to 16 weeks, and typically after the first build or the first 4 weeks is when you're going to start doubles or brick workouts. So I would put you in that. Jim, you look like I'm crazy when I said that. Do you agree with me? Okay, he agrees with me. We're good.
Do like once a week or?
Yeah, typically, however much you want to. Transition runs are as important, so at least get one of those in once a week. Every other week, plan for a longer brick workout, a bike and a run or a swim and a bike or something like that, and get those going. That's the last question I'm going to answer on training because those guys have way more knowledge than I do on it, so ask them privately if you have any other questions on training programs. Any other questions on this stuff after I told you not to ask questions? So that's it for the clinic today. A couple of quick things, and these are entirely shameless plugs, so forgive me. Make sure you check us out on social media. Our Facebook events are always up to date. We're posting regularly on Facebook as well. Instagram, if you wouldn't mind. We like friends. We like followers. Our website has a ton of information for you. Everything we ever talk about is on our website. You guys have your own page, livegrit.com/first-timers, plural, one word. And that'll give you all the information. The previous 3 clinic videos are up. This clinic video will be up when I get a chance to edit it. Download our mobile app. It's both in the Apple and Android store, just called Live Grit. You guys have your own section of that as well. The First Timers page is right on the front of that. That's how we're going to disseminate all of our information throughout the rest of the summertime as well. So any relevant information you need from us is going to be there. Anything Chicago Triathlon starts to post that is relevant to you guys will also be there. So if you're not good at keeping track of the 10 emails you get from us and them, we'll make sure it's all on there. Registration for the next clinics, the next open water swims, all of that is on there. Make sure you check out our Tuesday night fun runs, our Saturday morning swims, our Sunday morning group rides. Any questions on that, it's all on our Facebook page and our website as well. If you want to sign up for the Do-It-Yourself Triathlon, there's a cash register in the back here and a cash register on that side. You need to buy that $50 gift card to become registered for it. You guys are going to get 15% off of the bags and the mats today. Any other questions? Awesome. Thanks so much for coming out, guys. Appreciate it.